Hi, my name is Jo Hadley, and this is my podcast, Being a Human Lighthouse. If you've listened to my podcast before or read what I post on Substack, it won't surprise you to know that I'm passionate to understand the meaning of life, what we're meant to do, or our purpose for living, what is going on with humanity, what does it mean on a physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual level. I've always been interested in the bigger picture, the bigger questions. And several years ago, I asked the question what true health is, and I've gone down an interesting rabbit hole. What I'm learning is with everything in our universe is energy, vibration, frequency, and we're all at different levels. It's not that some are better than others, just some have attained different levels from experience from the past, or are just ahead on the journey. It's the same as if you've got children at school. One's in grade 12, the other one's in grade 3. The one in grade 12 has already lived enough to have picked up a lot more information than the one in grade 3. And if the one in grade 12 tries to tell the one in grade 3 what they're doing at school, the one in grade 3 will have no idea what they're talking about. And that's how I see humanity at the moment. The rabbit hole I've gone down, I feel like in many ways, I'm in grade 12. But I know there's many, many, many levels above me. So I'm sure there's lots of university degrees and PhDs and things above me, things I've yet to learn. And as everything is our level of consciousness, as Dr. David Hawkins has measured, there's these levels of energetic consciousness levels. As we actually attain the next level, we then are ready to understand the next lot of information, kind of like at school. You have to do all the prep work, then to be ready to go on to the next thing. You can't suddenly again get grade 12 information when you're in grade 3. So each time you open up and learn and absorb and understand something, and then boom, there's a shift to the next level. I feel that has happened to me in a really obvious way recently. I have just finished what I call my long dark year of the soul. Instead of the long dark night of the soul, it was an interesting year where when I knew what type of work I wanted to do, which is talking and educating and helping people heal traumas and patterns and faulty beliefs so they can access their own inner wisdom and their true self. When I was in an environment surrounded by like-minded souls, that energy lifts you up. You can see your vision clearer. You can feel your potential clearer. You can make jumps a lot quicker. And so it was with me. I was with a group of people at an event. I just felt passionate about this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. Yet I was going home to a job that I felt didn't align with me anymore, but I just didn't know where to go. And so the universe has basically decided to show me the way. And in true Jo Hadley fashion, I've been kicking and screaming and resisting most of the way, which is a wonderful little pattern of mine. Though the secret of progressing quicker is learning to tune into this resistance and meet it rather than resist it. And this has been a pattern that I'm getting better at doing. Definitely having progress, because if you listened to my podcast last week and I told you that 2 weeks ago today, my web host provider, through some misunderstandings, deleted my johadley.online work website and it was unable to be restored. The rage and anger and frustration I felt was intense, but it didn't last for more than about 5 minutes till I actually just went, okay, you're allowed to feel it. I felt it. And it's like, oh, well, what can you do about it? You can't change it. You can't get it back. They've said you can't get it back. How do you move forward? And also, if everything happens for a reason, what's the reason in this? What's the benefit in this? How can this work for me? Oh, and yes, I was a bit frustrated and didn't like my old website. I was wanting to change it, but I knew that I would just stay there. So just processing and turning and feeling it, I was actually surprised at how swiftly that anger feeling, the sensations in the body, that, oh, the poor me was gone in such a short amount of time. So in that instance, I did not go kicking and screaming. In fact, I saw the universe telling me very clearly that there was another way to go, that there was a deeper reason for this. I have had some other frustrations creating this new website, which has brought up a few other questions, but I won't go there today. I've actually got one online now, joehadley.com. So the irony was I had two websites, one for my physio pass, which was joehadley.com, and that was the one that I was trying to delete. So lucky for me, that was still available, so I could instantly bring that to a new provider and create a new online website. Whereas unfortunately, when you change details or do something with one, you cannot change it or transfer it for 60 days. So joehadley.online had to be let go of. And I got quite attached to it. I thought I'd really loved that. I had all my flyers, I had my business cards, I had everything set up for joehadley.online. I felt it really, really worked. So I've had to actually just allow myself to just feel the disappointment and go back to joehadley.com. As with most things that happen to us, sometimes the true meaning and the true reason doesn't show itself or reveal itself for a little while. So I know these are all for a good purpose and a good reason. And I took it that I had made such exponential progress and jumps in my level of consciousness and understanding in the couple of years since I'd created joehadley.online that I was ready to use the new energy in the new website and to actually talk about consciousness and energy and spiritual matters and soul in the website instead of hedging it a little bit and hiding it a little bit, which is what I did in the past because I thought people weren't ready for that. Some people aren't ready for that, but then they're not the people who will resonate with my work. My passion is understanding life and human evolution and what our potential is and how our health is a reflection of that. And this isn't meant to make people feel guilty if they have chronic illness. There's many causes, not just one. But in a lot of instances, it can be our patterns and our faulty beliefs and the traumas and the unresolved emotions that are stuck to our energy bodies that create the physical ill health. And as we tune in to the deeper, what's inside us, the soul, or that innate wisdom inside us, the more we tune into that, the rest of the other stuff just falls away, a bit like caked mud falling away if you wash it off with a hose or a shower. Of course, it can be a bit unpleasant as it washes off. It can be a bit stuck. And that is the trauma therapies and the trauma healing. I then went through a phase of like leaving physiotherapy, feeling like I had to help release trauma. And I do. I love doing that. But in my mind, I had it set in a certain way. And what I'm coming to the realization now is as our level of consciousness rises, just our presence can assist people to see their own truth and to release much easier without necessarily having to do the one-on-one type therapy work, which I love doing. And it's still very applicable. It's very intense with one-on-one, but it can also be done in a group. And the more people that are in the room, resonating from a heart frequency, tuning in to the highest good of all, you can get an amazing increase of healing ability and healing potential and seeing what's going on much quicker than you would with one-on-one or the less accumulative effect of the group coherence. Because more people together exponentially increases the consciousness level and the energy level. So while one-on-one is very, very good, the more people together doing this work can be very, very powerful. If anyone's meditated in groups, they'll know that. Thomas Hubel, who is a world authority on collective trauma, does a lot of group trauma therapy healing and writes in his books about, and in his podcast talks about the palpable energy and intensity of the group sessions. And something happened this week that made me start to question whether my mind, my poor little mind that is just going on the usual linear way of going, well, if I do this, this will happen, based on what's happened before, has got this idea of what I'm trying to create. But in my heart, there's these images that don't quite match what I see out in the world. So it's a little bit hard. Like I've been feeling for quite a few years now of creating a place in the countryside that is not a retreat. I initially called it Phoenix Farm, mainly because I love the vision and the symbolism of a phoenix. And but now it's changed in the last year or so, around about the time when my life started to change dramatically. I started to get the feeling that it had to be somewhere like really south in the world. So Tasmania in Australia, New Zealand, and I called it, well, the image in my mind was created was the end of the earth. I used to call it the end of the earth healing collective to start with. But now it comes into my mind that it's the end of the earth consciousness collective. And the universe, in its wisdom, which I can't always see, has sent me to Tasmania, a place 12 months ago I probably wouldn't have come here voluntarily or even had an idea that I was going to go there. As I said, I do tend to kick and scream through issues. Though a few months ago, when I was still in Sydney and just wondering where the heck the universe was going to send me next, I saw a car parked in the street with a Tasmanian number plate. And the Tasmanian number plates, a lot of them have on them the expression, explore the possibilities. And I took that as a sign from the universe. And it just kind of made me think, oh, maybe I'm not going to New Zealand. Maybe Tasmania is the end of the earth, Australia-wise. And it meant I could take my skills as they are because I'd learnt them all in Australia, because I'd been interested in moving to New Zealand, but there'd been a few obstacles. So that number plate opened me up to the idea of Tasmania. And a couple of months later, here I am, exploring the possibilities. Because healing goes in waves, and I'm still using the word healing, even though technically that's not what we're doing. We're already whole. We're just rediscovering this perfect version of ourselves, our inner wisdom, the soul within that knows everything. It knows what's good for us. It knows how to keep us healthy. It knows how to heal the body. We have to just let go of all the layers and the filters and the mud that blocks our ability to access that. And that is what we're doing as a collective with humanity at the moment. We're tuning in and learning to let go of all the mud and the dense energies and filters that cloud our perceptions, cloud our ability. And often these chronic illnesses are signs of how we are blocking this energy. So symptoms, I've done a 180-degree turn on symptoms. We usually taught terrible, terrible symptoms, terrible, get rid of them. No, of course we want to get rid of them. Nobody wants horrible symptoms that show us that we're out of alignment. But that's what they're showing us. They're showing us we're out of alignment. We need to change something. Change how we're thinking, change our beliefs, change some pattern, resolve some emotions. I don't know, it'll be individual for everyone, but it usually means we have to go within and get the roots of the weed out and throw it out. And symptoms are merely just showing us, the body's wisdom is showing us that we're out of alignment. Of course, it's not easy. We've got to work out or learn to tune in. And that's not easy, to start to tune into this innate wisdom, to start to learn to hear it so we can follow it. And usually when we start to follow this inner wisdom and listen to it and trust it, we get more into alignment with our true self, this perfect version of ourselves, and usually our life and our health gets better. There are times when you're on this path where suddenly illnesses or things come up, but that usually means we're going to deeper and deeper and deeper, the basement levels, the really dark, deep stuff that have been repressed and suppressed. That may be ours as an individual, or it could even be ancestral, or it could even be part of the collective. Because we're all connected, sometimes we have to go in and do the work. And it's not necessarily our individual stuff. We may be clearing it for our community, for our country, for the world. It's always for everybody. I've often had the idea, because I've often had these feelings that I was picking up others' energy and emotions. And when I was a physio, when I was younger, I used to always end up with aches and pains. And I said to an energy medicine lady once, I said, I sometimes get the feeling that I just take on my client's pain to get an idea of what they're going through, or sensing what they're going through. And she said to me that I'd never said a truer thing in the times I've been coming to her, which is quite funny. So I knew I had this ability to tune in, and I also know that intuitively that I actually go into deeper and darker depths within myself. It's not always my stuff, because I know I'm just helping clear other people's stuff as well, without taking on their pain and having boundaries. I had to learn the hard way about that one. When I was younger, I used to say I was empathetic to the point of pathology. I used to feel other people too much. So learning what's mine and what's other people's has been a skill that I've had to learn. And people who are very empathic have to learn these skills. But what really helped me was knowing that I have a soul and an inner wisdom and an innate ability within me, and so does everybody else. So I can assist people, but everyone has their own journey and path and time to do their own inner work. And it's not up to me to fix everybody. Because yes, when I was younger, I used to think I had to fix everybody and would feel very down if I couldn't. I mean, that's not how it works. We can assist people. I can be a catalyst. I can support. But whether it's the right thing for that other person, it's up to them. It's up to they've got their own inner wisdom. They've got their own higher self. We're all connected to the same source. So I trust and let people go, just knowing I've done my part. I've still got a few little chinks and little issues that I have in my own patterns that I've got to get rid of yet. I'm not perfect at this, but I see the pattern, and I'm having some little tests lately of getting drawn into someone else's problem and thinking I've got to solve it or fix it, or getting too empathetic and going, no, not my problem. they have a higher self. I've said to them what I need to say. They will then go down the path they need to go down, even if it's not a pleasant one, even if I'm very sad to see them go down that path because I know how unpleasant it is. But sometimes people need to go down a path because who knows what they're going to learn on that path. It's not up to me. And interesting that on social media or YouTube, I've been given a few different snippets and shorts from people saying exactly the same thing, saying, when you heal, you don't heal people. That's not what you do. If you think you're doing that, you actually can be slowing their progress down because we all have to develop at our own pace. We all have the free will to choose and develop at our own pace. We have the free will to choose to ignore advice, or it may not be the right time. I remember back when I was a physio several years ago, I was getting a lot of people with chronic pain. And I could see that they had trauma. I was being compassionate. I was telling them all these wonderful things in science of how possible it is to be able to work through it. And people were just not interested, not interested. They just wanted to stay in their pain and wanted someone to give them a pill to fix it. And I remember that the fellow I worked for said something which I thought was very wise and actually helped me a lot. He said, Joe, all you can do is plant the seed. And that's how it is. All we can do is plant the seed. When that seed decides to open and blossom is completely up to the higher power and the inner wisdom of that other person. And again, a month ago, I was feeling really low and upset again, which is a sign that I'm letting go of something, some patterns coming up to be observed. All of these horrible down and feeling sad and angry patterns, that something's coming up to the surface. So I allowed myself, I sat with it. I gave myself permission to feel it. And it's interesting. And I was given from YouTube the suggestion of Dr. David Clements. And I've a physicist who does, I think, living energetics. And I've written and spoken about him before, that listening to him was a catalyst for me to jump to another level. And I have just been listening to several interviews with him because it's knowledge and understanding that I almost go, yeah, I know that. And someone telling me that's like, it's okay that I know that. And I knew it, and I've been waiting for someone to let me know that it's okay to know that. It's a very strange sensation, but exciting. And I was listening to one of his interviews today when he said, we get delivered energy codes and packets when we're ready. So I thought, well, okay, I definitely was ready for a new jump. And it coincided with me purging something that was within. And a sign of that purging was this sadness and anger and aloneness. And of course, once I allowed that to pass through and to be seen without trying to resist it, I then was presented with this new information, which has been truly illuminating and has actually got me thinking on a different level. And this is where I'm coming back full circle to what I started talking about today. Is I initially thought I was being led to do more trauma therapy, one-on-one. But as I am starting to integrate all the things I've been reading, including David Hawkins and his consciousness work, the somatic and trauma healing work, knowing that's what we have to do. We have to all purge this stuff that's blocking us, and it's often unpleasant. And the more we resist it, the more unpleasant it is. If we can learn to just turn to look at it, feel it, and experience the unpleasantness, it can pass through much quicker, which, as I said before, so much easier said than done. Because who likes to feel these unpleasant emotions and sensations? They can be very intense. And sometimes we need people to be with us in a safe space to really allow us to feel them fully and safely. And that's the type of work that I thought I was meant to be doing. But as I've been listening to these podcasts and then going, I even wrote a screenplay a few years ago about this icon and this land that was a very spiritual and allowed people to see their inner truth. I thought, wow, I wrote that in 1996. I'm interested in consciousness now, and I'm interested in how consciousness can help people to heal or facilitate healing. And my head has been thinking and giving me this idea about the end of the earth consciousness collective. I'm now starting to wonder whether I am looking for a land. I'm looking for some land to buy, to live on, to create this area that will be high intensity energy in nature, using the energy of nature, because nature is connected with us, to assist people to raise up to higher levels. But I won't know that until it happens. But that's what I'm thinking about at the moment. I'm looking at the possibilities, at what's possible. And in the past, I've always thought, no, 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 I don't want to do it on my own. I don't want to do it on my own. I'm waiting for a collective. But then I do recall a few months ago when I met someone who had created a small area like this in Wollongong. And I thought, what a great little community in a great area. My business coach said, why don't I go to Tasmania and create one? And I thought, no, 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 no. I can't do this on my own. But I'm wondering if perhaps that's what I meant to do. I don't know, but the seeds have been put in. What exactly will bloom in which direction is yet to be determined, but I'm definitely opening up to higher and different possibilities beyond what my mind had created before with its limited knowledge of what had happened before in the world and what people were creating in the world at that time. Our heart and our soul knows way more than our limited mental facilities of just the mind thinking in its linear, three-dimensional format. It's helpful, but to only live from that can be a problem, and it's very limiting. So that's my podcast for the day. I think I've probably spoken way too much, so I'm not going to do my meditation. But if consciousness works how I believe consciousness works, we've already received some packets of high-level consciousness energy. And hopefully you're feeling lighter. So until next week, good luck. Enjoy your unfolding. Bye.